My grandmother made exactly one phone call about the farm in 50 years. One call, 11 minutes, 3 years before she died. I was in the room when she made it. I didn't understand what I was hearing. I thought she was talking to an old friend. She wasn't. She was setting something in motion that had been waiting since 1974. My name is Sarah. This is the story of my grandmother Ruth, the woman her own brothers erased, and how she erased them back without ever raising her voice. Ruth was born on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. 300 acres, 4 generations, her whole world. She was the oldest of 3. Then came Harold, then Eugene. And here's what everyone in the county knew, but nobody said out loud. Ruth ran that farm. From 16 on, she kept the books. She negotiated with the milk cooperative. When their father's hands started shaking, it was Ruth who signed the checks. With his permission, in his presence, every single time. Harold left for Milwaukee at 19. Eugene followed at 20. They came back for Christmas. Sometimes. Ruth stayed. Ruth worked. For 22 years, Ruth was the farm. Their father died in the spring of 1974. Ruth was 40. And at the reading of the will, she learned what her father had done, or what she believed for a very long time her father had done. The farm went to Harold and Eugene, equally split. To Ruth, the one who had run it for 2 decades, a sum of $2,000 and their mother's china cabinet. $2,000 and a cabinet. The will said, in her father's supposed words, that farming is no life for a woman alone, and my sons will carry this land forward. Harold and Eugene sold the farm within 14 months. 300 acres, 4 generations, gone to a development company. They split the money, bought houses in the suburbs, and never worked a field again in their lives. At the estate sale, Ruth stood in the driveway of the house she was born in, and Harold said to her these exact words. She repeated them to me once, only once. He said, "Don't look at me like that, Ruthie. Dad wrote what he wrote." She didn't argue. She didn't cry. Witnesses say she just nodded, got in her car, and drove away. She didn't speak to either brother for the next 50 years. Here's the thing everyone got wrong about Ruth's silence. The family, the town, even my own mother. They thought it was grief. They thought it was a woman swallowing defeat the way women of her generation were taught to. It wasn't grief. It was patience. Because Ruth had seen something at that will reading. One small thing. The signature on the will was dated March of 1973, a month when she knew, because she kept every record of that farm, that her father could no longer hold a pen steady enough to sign his own name. She knew because for 11 months before his death, she had been signing his checks. Legally, with documented power of attorney. Every bank record proved exactly when his hands stopped working. So who signed a clean, steady signature in March of 1973? Ruth had a suspicion. Harold had visited that month, with a lawyer friend from Milwaukee, alone with their father for an afternoon while Ruth was at the co-op. But a suspicion is not proof. And in 1974, a 40-year-old farm woman standing against 2 men and a lawyer in a county courthouse. She knew exactly how that would end. So she did the only thing she could do. She kept the records Every ledger, every bank statement, every dated document showing her power of attorney and her father's medical decline. She packed them into 2 boxes, and she waited. She waited for the world to change. Ruth built a life. A good one, I want to be clear about that, because this is not a story about a woman consumed by bitterness. She became a bookkeeper, then an accountant, then the woman half the small businesses in 3 counties trusted with their money. She married my grandfather, a quiet man who adored her. She raised my mother. She taught me to play cribbage and to never sign anything I hadn't read twice. But every few years, I'm told, she would take out those 2 boxes, go through every page, and pack them away again. My grandfather asked her once why she kept them. She said, "Because paper outlives people, Bill, and it outlives their lies." In 2021, Ruth was 87, and 2 things happened within 1 month. First, Harold died, the older brother, the one who had stood in that driveway. And second, Ruth read in the paper that the development company that bought the farm in 1975 was being sued, and that as part of the case, the county had digitized 50 years of property and probate records. Every document, searchable, public, including the original 1973 will, and including, this is the part that matters, the notary log from the lawyer who witnessed it. A log which had been sitting in a courthouse basement since the Ford administration. That's when she made the phone call, the one I heard, 11 minutes. She wasn't calling an old friend. She was calling a forensic document examiner in Madison. And what she said, according to the notes he later showed our family, was this. "I've been waiting for this paperwork to surface for 47 years. I'd like to hire you. I'm not in a hurry. I've never been in a hurry." It took 2 years. Ruth didn't live to see the end of it. She died in the winter of 2023, at 89, in her sleep, with her affairs in perfect order. Of course they were in perfect order. She was Ruth. But in her will, her real will, ironclad, updated, witnessed twice, she left 3 things to my mother and me. Her house, her savings, and 2 boxes of documents, with a letter and the phone number of a lawyer she had already retained. The letter was 4 sentences long. I know it by heart. The examiner's report is in the green folder. The signature is not my father's. It matches Harold's lawyer's hand. Eugene knew. Finish it. Finish it. The forensic report was unambiguous. The 1973 signature was written by a steady hand, traced over pencil, a technique document examiners catch in minutes with modern imaging. The medical records Ruth had preserved proved her father couldn't sign. The notary log showed the will was backdated. Eugene was 90 by then. His lawyers argued time. They argued frailty. They argued that everyone involved was dead. But fraud, it turns out, has a long memory in probate court. And paper, just like Ruth said, outlives people. The settlement came last spring. Eugene's estate and the heirs of Harold agreed to a figure I'm not allowed to say out loud. But I can tell you it reflected 50 years of what that farmland became worth after it was developed. Eugene signed the settlement himself. His hands, I'm told, were shaking. His hands were shaking. I think about that more than I probably should. With part of the settlement, my mother and I did the only thing that felt right. We bought back 40 acres of the original land. the piece with the old windbreak of oaks that Ruth's great-grandfather planted. It's a community farm now. There's a small sign at the gate. It says, "Ruth's Field. She kept the books." She kept the books for 50 years, and the books won. My grandmother never yelled, never sued in anger, never told her side at a single family dinner. People mistook her silence for surrender, and she let them, because she understood something her brothers never did. Revenge is loud and fast, and it burns out. Justice is quiet. Justice keeps receipts. Justice can wait 50 years for a courthouse basement to open. Patience is not weakness. Patience is aim. If someone in your family was ever written out, pushed aside, or erased, and everyone told them to just let it go, this story is for them. Do you believe the truth always finds its way out, no matter how long it takes? Has it happened in your family? Leave a comment below. I read every single one. Some people bury the truth and hope it stays down, but the ground remembers. Our next story begins with a promise made at a deathbed and broken before the funeral.